are starting 2023 with. So better things on the way, better things lined up right here on the Morning Drift as we continue to chart the year this year. Amwai, how many days do we have to complete this year? That's 200 and...
No,
9 days. That's down the line.
350
wow,
something.
350 something.
Yeah, 57, 58 there.
57, 58.
Yeah.
Oof.
Still young. So if somebody has not kicked off those resolutions, you still have time. You
still have time to write them down, regardless of what you've done for the past 7 days, isn't it?
Yeah. There's always a new hello. A new chance to say, I can start again.
You can start again. Yeah. And trust me, here's the thing. Can I give you one? Amwai, wake up at 5 a.m. every day, if you can, right? All right?
Are you challenging me?
Yeah. Okay. Wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Take a lot of water per day, all right? At least exercise for 1 hour, right? Read at least 20 pages of a book a day, okay? I don't know what you might want to add, but if you keep on doing that consistently for the next 300 days of why, you'll be a completely different person. I think then that's when you can actually come in and claim. I think you can claim new me at the end of the year. You can't just say new me at the beginning of the year.
Is it this year I was very intentional, I changed my life in all different spectrum. This is what I have achieved so far. So you can actually say it has been transformation. Because now that you mentioned that, I think the new me should actually come after you've already achieved whatever you had set. You cannot say new year, new me, and yet you've not started, because that journey might not actually get to, climax or something like that.
Now, the whole thing about new year, new me, stop it. Let's see how new you're going to be at the end of 2023. And guess what? We shall be here talking you through a lot of things on a liquor business, on the Morning Drift, a couple of changes that you expect here and there in as much as our programming is concerned. But for us, what we do know is that we shall be bringing you how and when we have it right here. Same thing now. Let's then take a tiny breather. Once we come back, we look at exactly what is trending on your dailies this morning. You are still watching the Morning Drift. Let's then take a look at what is trending on your dailies this morning. And I think we're going to be putting it together. Let me just see exactly what we start with. I don't know whether Dennis is ready with the dailies this morning. Do we have them, or we dig deeper and then see exactly where we are? Amwai, could we start with the standard, isn't it? I think, do you have it on your side?
Yes, I do have the standard. Let me just, yes, here. Now, the standard here, the top story on the standard says Raila starts Azimio with Uhuru claims. Now, this follows what Raila Odinga said yesterday in Mombasa. And he did say that Uhuru Kenyatta, that is the, I believe, the patron of the Azimio coalition, is in the Azimio coalition to stay, as opposed to what was being peddled that he was actually going to resign. So actually putting, both sides of the political divide into a little bit of a quagmire, if you may. Because one side of the political divide expects that Uhuru is going to resign and focus on his peace mission, and the other one looks at him and says, okay, you need to stay with us so that we actually look like we're very united. And let me just read something from that. It says, opposition leader Raila Odinga insists former President Uhuru Kenyatta has not left coalition, but the latter has remained silent, throwing allies in a spin. Has Kenyatta tactically dumped Odinga? This is a question that the Standard is asking and trying just to analyze whether this statement from Raila Odinga is supposed to just try to confuse both sides of the political divide, and Kenya Kwanza to be mostly, I believe, and also trying to put President Uhuru Kenyatta in a fix statistics whereby if he actually does leave Azimio, then those claims that people were saying that maybe he was in Azimio for conveniency and he actually helped, the coalition lose this election by not doing what he was expected to do, I believe. And also just, the other side of the political divide will be like, okay, maybe if he did resign Simba,
yes,
some people could actually accuse him of leading Azimio into failure. And if he did remain, then this other political divide will say, okay, we were in this together. Everything that happened was actually part and parcel. You were part and parcel of that particular plan.
When you look at that, Uhuru Kenyatta didn't really say that he's leaving the coalition. He just said he's taking a break from politics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reading into that statement that it means that if you're going to take a break from politics, it will mean that then you are leaving any other political party that you have been aligned to.
You will not be active in that particular formation.
Yes. Anyway, when you look at it, for me, he wants to take a break. Trust me, he wants to leave.
He wants to leave?
Yeah.
Why would he leave, though?
Why would you want to be in opposition?
That was a chance. He was the president, but that was a chance. When you go into an election, there's 50-50. You're either going to be in the opposition side or in government. It
would have made sense if he was a friend of the government, isn't it? Yeah. But now, it doesn't make sense for a former president
to lead an opposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you put
I'll
it
tell you that. Yeah. Because then... And it's your deputy who's now the president.
The president.
And you're like, does it make sense anyway? But I've seen something very interesting there that we were talking about this morning. Just on the sidelines of that picture of President Ruto, there's an opinion there by Okwaro Oscar Plato on page 16. Please read it on the Standard. It says, "New year, new you is a phrase you will see repeated in print this month." Yeah? But this is just sing-song rhetoric. Just because it sounds right to your ear does not mean it contains any truth. That's what we're talking about, by the way, when we opened the show this morning.
Exactly.
Yeah. People just say because
and I think I liked what he said in regards to this new year, new me. I think the new you should actually come at the end of it.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
At the end of it, when you can actually assess and say, this is the growth I've made. This is how long I've come. Then you can say, now this is the new me.
Honestly, that's exactly how you're supposed to look at it. Because if you look at it in any other different way, then you will not be making any sense. Is there anything eye-catching on the Standard this morning as well?
All right, now let's just take a look at this. Kenya shines in children protection. Kenya has performed fairly well in latest global rankings on country response to child sexual exploitation and abuse, but experts are warning the statistics may be a facade to a deeper crisis. Now, this is the thing. This is a story on page 14 and page 15 of the Standard. It's a special report that the Standard was looking at. Something else, murders. Now, the trouble in Kisii. You've been in Kisii lately.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of story you're coming
Actually came back
with
this.
from there. Now, latest murders in Kisii and Nyamira have caused an uproar with the community dumbfounded. Leaders are concerned that mental illness are high and community needs concerted efforts to curb it. Now, this is the thing, Simba. Just the other day, we are covering stories here, and I was looking at story number 1 to number 4, just almost half of the bulletin. This is about death and murder, maybe some from Kisii, some from other places in the country. And this, a little bit of a concern when it comes to this kind of things that we normally do cover as journalists, and what is, what exactly is causing this, because now this report says there is a little bit of concern. It could be mental health and all that. And you just came from, home recently. What report did you bring from there? I
think it's people converge. It's when you finally get to meet your entire family over the holidays, isn't it, for a long extended period. And that's where these mental issues, when you realize that you're not even compatible with some of your family members, you're not even able to fend or provide for your family. These mental health issues, and actually could be related. Because when you wake up in the morning and a man has hacked the entire of his family to death, Amwai, it's not just a community issue, that's a mental health issue, isn't it? And normally these cases rise up during the festive period. And we hear once schools start to open, these family murders then would again subside. When people are essentially out of the family now, and the contact period is reduced during these gatherings. You say now, for me, that's the point. It's mental health issues. People just realize that the family that they're in is not essentially what they expected, or they cannot provide, or they just do not know how to relate with the family. That's where you get to hear some of these cases.
I know some people even avoided going to the holidays because they don't want to meet families and say it's a toxic environment and things like that.
Going a lot.
Something else that is making headlines here on the Standard, and just as I wound up before you take a look at the Daily Nation, budget. This is hard reality facing Kenya Kwanza. This is a story on page 6, and you can actually take a look at that. On matters counties, 9 laws bad for devolution. It has been covered on page 21 of the Standard. And on matters business, tea reforms remain a big mirage. That is something that is on the business page 25 of this Standard. There's been a lot of reforms in the tea sector. I don't know how that is coming about, and whether it is actually going to be a dream, lived, a dream that comes to reality, something like that.
When the running of KTDA as well has been also put on the spotlight as well, because there's another team now claiming, remember when Uhuru Kenyatta was just leaving office, he did institute reforms in the tea sector that saw the change in the running of a bigger player in that sector, KTDA. Now the current chairman is facing a lot of balls from the outgoing team or the ousted team during Uhuru Kenyatta's time. And now they're in a new regime, they're saying, we didn't like how we were taken out. We want to come back in and then see to the running of the KTDA. Probably this week on Look at Business, I'll be speaking to the current chairman for KTDA, see why he's getting a lot of fights, and also speak to him on exactly what he thinks about the running of the tea sector in the country, especially in 2023.
All right.
So can we move over to the Daily Nation? Good. It's the same story that we've seen on the Standard. And if you look at that particular headline, it's talking about how Ruto is trying to balance his power. Now, if you look keenly into that, saying President Ruto has set out roles for his key men, putting each in charge of coordination with an arm of a government. Rigathi Gachagua has been overtasked with overseeing the working relationship between the national and county governments through the Council of Governors. Musalia Mudavadi will be overseeing the working relationship between Parliament and the Executive. And Muturi Justin has been tasked with improving the relationship between the national government and judiciary. That's exactly what the big headline there is talking about. Again, the same stories that we've been talking about here on pages 12 of the Daily Nation. Read how an arsonist killed 7 family members, also missed another target. So go on all the way to page 12. Again, questions on CBC, all right, for schools. Here on page 2, there will be a story on how schools will be assessed to establish their capacity before they are allowed to host junior secondary students. Children from schools that lack adequate facilities will be transferred to nearby institutions. This coming, by the way, if you went home during this period, Amwai, I had a chance to do that. I saw a lot of those schools that have been constructed, the junior secondary schools in these secondary schools, by the way. Interesting story of what is going to happen to them, especially at a time when the government is clear that, well, we put that on hold and assess the ability of these particular schools then to hold these junior secondary schools. Interesting happening right now in the education sector. Now, lastly, on the Daily Nation, see, the thing is, there is a ban on the importation of all trucks into the country. Now, there's an interesting statistic here where 85% of used car imports make about 2.2 million cars on the roads in the country. So 85% of the roads, of the cars on the Kenyan roads are used vehicles. Now, KEPS did come in and say, well, we do not need old trucks coming into the country. Now, majority then of traders in the country, anything above 30 tons, you should be getting it new. As it is. All right, that's the Daily Nation right there for you. For right now, again, let's take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then we shall be looking at exactly what is trending online. Thank you very much. Good. Let's then rush online in the next 5 minutes so we can see exactly what it is that you're talking about in as much as your trends are concerned this morning. Let's open our tweet center so we can actually jump into it together this morning. Don't know whether it's ready. Is it? A lot of conversations online.
Yeah.
Let me just...
We are taking a look at Deputy President Kiage Simba.
Yes, there's something that he did say yesterday, isn't it? Was it yesterday or...
For today, he's spoken so many times in the past 3 days. So people are just picking a lot of things that he said. One, he was actually climbing Mount Kenya going to pray. He actually spoke. At the cabinet retreat and things like that. Yeah. So there's so many things that the Deputy President has said over the weekend.
That's it. So I actually don't have it here. Let's start with one. Can you post them so we can get to read it together? Let me just open this one. This one is, this came from a Twitter handle called Reporter KE, but then it's everything that we say here. Is that everyone who joined Azimio was threatened that they will be jailed. We have been threatened. We're still here. I want to tell those who are threatening the president and us, God doesn't eat ugali, nor does he live in Kayole. He lives in heaven. Why? Kayole was trending, isn't it? Why do you think he would assimilate, he would associate that with Kayole? Why? The Kayole insertion inside that.
I have no idea what was going through his mind. When
he doesn't live in Kayole. Mungu aishi Kayole bwana. Sasa Kayole, shida ya Kayole ni gani?
Mbona kusema Karen?
Mbona kusema Karen? Ama mbona kusema kahawa?
Maybe God does not maybe this is just a maybe, and God does not live on earth, and maybe Kayole is the more relatable area that you can actually say it's closer to the common person and things like that. Yeah.
But anyway, when you look at it, it just it doesn't make proper sense at all, isn't it? Anyway, but do you think it's okay for the president to keep on, for the deputy president to keep on speaking as if he's in campaign mode? Because everything here, Amwai, is like he hasn't moved on.
That's the thing with I don't know. Most of the time when our deputy president does speak, we expect that he's going to be trending because he normally does make a trend. And whatever comes out of his mouth, to some extent, just brings us back to the political mood, because he's just, in most cases, playing blame game to whatever happened before, right now, trying to take whatever is happening now and blaming it and whatever happened in the past and things like that. So that process of moving on and just focusing on the work that you're supposed to be doing, we've not been able to see that yet. So we're still in that particular mode of, like you put it, a campaign mode. And I remember the opposition the other day when they were in Mombasa saying that these people, every time they go to church, and we made these people, he was referring to the people that are in government right now, that every time they go to church, they start politicking. Wanataka kurusha maneno huku na huku, but church should be a place where you go to respect that particular audience and the platform itself. You just go and pray, but when you come out, now come and politic. But do not do it in church, because he has actually identified and seen that most of the time it is always politics in church, calling out this and that and things like that. Not normally happening.
Anyway, that's how it is, isn't it? Let's jump into the next one this morning. And I think we can post this, so we can also get to read it together, because I know there is one, and now this one is a tweet that I emanated by Kenyans. It says, President Ruto contributed 5 million shillings for covering Kasavuli's hospital bill and funeral expenses. And I'll tell you why. This also puts the health sector on the spotlight, because cancer in this country is quite, and not actually in this country. The treatment of cancer is quite an expensive affair, isn't it? Because we did say the family was struggling to raise the $4 million hospital bill that was accrued during her stay at the hospital before she passed. Again, putting our health sector in the spotlight, especially under this tenure for affordable healthcare in the country, because if you cannot really have a route for cancer treatment in that healthcare, then I think we're still in black and white times. We're still trying to fight a giant. Yeah.
Now, this is the thing. I think it's been the government has been called upon to actually, put this into consideration, make sure that because people who are suffering from cancer are not two people. You understand? Yeah. It's such a big challenge to so many families. So, what is it that we can actually do to make sure that they get the services when it comes to medical services that they actually need to, be better to some extent. Yeah. And because it's a little bit too, it is too expensive, not a little bit, it is expensive to actually get treating cancer in this country. And I remember there was a documentary that was done some time back by Nimro Tabu, just looking at the cancer burden and how many families are burdened with this particular disease that is, affecting the families and all that. Sometimes, there's not enough money, chemo is expensive and things like that. So, okay, I think it is high time we start having this conversation in regards to what can be done to, make access to healthcare when it comes to matters cancer, affordable, not even affordable, just, accessible to any other person that is, a common person. Because a lot of people could be going through this in silence and nobody's taking notice of that.
Yeah. I will tell you that.
And also something that I noticed in regards to Catherine Kasavule, this is Simba. You see, when she was in hospital, she was asking for this donation. I think that would have come a little bit earlier when it comes to settling these particular bills. You understand? Yeah. Because we did see a lot of people chipping into that particular hospital, the who's and who's when it comes to matters cabinet, taking pictures and all that. Then when she, unfortunately passed away, that's when this information of having, this amount of bill in hospital, having accrued and all that just starts coming in, and you wonder when you are going to hospital, because we believe that probably you are in the capacity to actually give a helping hand rather. What is it that you are doing? You should have, these are some of the things that you should have looked at. What is your hospital bill? I want to help, and just paying a visit and things like that, especially when you are in government. Yeah.
Anyway, so good for the president right there. We move on to the last one this morning, just before we take a tiny break and come back with what is making headlines in terms of your news this morning. Now, this one is specifically a celebratory one. It touches on Collins Injera. Has been inducted into the Fiji Hall of Fame during the Coral Coast 7 scheduled for January. That is on as from Thursday, isn't it, to the 14th, all the way to Saturday. Amwai is a man who has had a stellar career, by the way. Yeah. For me, when I see anything about Collins Injera, and I keep on saying that they should make him play a coach then, officially then, for our 7th team here in the country. I don't know what the sports team are going to talk about this. It's a big conversation. It's actually trending, and majority of Kenyans are very happy for him, especially when that was announced. The recognition that is being given by people who know sport. I don't feel that here in the country we actually do give him the recognition that he deserves. But you can actually see now that people really know how a goat is when it comes to he's a goat. Yeah. He's a goat when it comes to sevens here in the country. For me and the rest of the team here, then it's just congratulations to Collins Injera right there for that feat. All right, we take a tiny breather again right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom where we get to sample for you some of the biggest headlines that you are waking up to this morning.
All right.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
A very small percentage of people can protect what the future holds. Mahiga Homes has a track record that speaks for itself. With 5.95 million, you can get a 3-bedroom flat roof bungalow at Golden Park, Juja. We've handed over 9 estates and the 10th handover is coming soon. Your dream home is just a step away.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Mwangi's Institute of Cosmetology. We are TVET and NITA approved training institute in the following courses: School of Hairdressing and Beauty Therapy, School of Fashion Design, Event Management and Decoration, School of Interior Design and Beadwork, School of Advanced Nail Technology, and School of Makeup Artistry. We are located at Kim's Plaza, Equity Bank Building, 4th floor, Oginga Odinga Street, Eldoret. Call us on 0715-046-499 or email us at mwangiscosmetologyinstitute@gmail.com. Mwangi's Institute of Cosmetology, empowering tomorrow's generation today.
You are still watching the morning brief, and I'm Kiage. At this minute, let's cross over to the newsroom so we can get to sample for you some of the headlines that you are waking up to. Now, 3 people have died, while 33 others were hospitalized in various health facilities following a road accident in Sirisia, Bungoma County. The accident happened after the Nairobi bus that was traveling from Luakaka to Nairobi veered off the road, hitting a boda rider.
Msichana, mke wa mtoto wangu pamoja na mchukuu wangu, wao ndio walipoteza maisha mwendo wa saa 12 karibu dakika 50 hivi. Hii ajali imetokea jana mwendo wa saa 12 ikielekea moja, ambapo basi ilikuwa inaondoka imejaa watu ikielekea Nairobi. So driver walitoka Uganda wakiwa mazungumzo na conductor, ni kama hawakuwa wanaelewana, walikuwa wanagombana, na walipoondoka gari ilitoka kwa kasi, so haikuenda muda, ilienda distance haifiki kilomita 1 kisha kupata ajali.
Tangu mwaka jana uliopita tumekuwa na janga kuu katika barabara hii ya Lwahaha kuja Chwele. Barabara hii tulifikiri itakuwa ya manufaa kwa wakazi wa Lwahaha na hasa wakazi wa Sirisha, lakini tumeiona barabara hii imekuwa ambayo ni kasi kwa kwa watu wetu. Chini ya wiki moja tumepoteza zaidi ya watu 11. Imagine wakati tunamzika mume wa mtu, siku ya kufanya harambee yake na mke wake pia anagongwa na basi hapo kule karibu na Sirisha. Jana ndiyo imekuwa siku ya masikitiko makubwa sana, wakati basi ambayo ilikuwa inasafiri kutoka katika boda hii yetu ya Lohaha kuelekea Nairobi, basi kukosa mwelekeo na kuwaua watu 3 papo hapo, akiwemo mwendeshaji bodaboda. Na vile tunasema sasa hivi ni watoto wa familia moja, watoto 2 ambao wamepoteza maisha yao.
2 robbers were gunned down after a shootout with police officers in Lugari, Kakamega County, with a pistol and bullets recovered. The 2 are said to have terrorized residents, with Kakamega County Commissioner John Ondego urging the youth to shun robbery and focus on improving their lives.
Hiyo bunduki imekuwa ikihangaisha watu, wajambazi wamekuwa wakitembea nayo, wanaenda pande ya Busia, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, Wazingishu, Kakamega na kadhalika. Na tulianza kuwafuata hata tukajiunga na DCI officers kutoka Nairobi. Wamefuatwa mpaka hadi jana, walikuwa wameonekana wakitoka Mumias wakielekea upande ya Eldoret. Askari wetu wa DCI wakaanza kuwafuata. Walipofika kule Lugari sub county huko Tarbo, basi wakaelezwa kwamba wasimame na wakakaidi amri ya polisi. Mojawapo akashuka kwenye pikipiki, walikuwa wanatembea na pikipiki. Mojawapo akashuka kwa pikipiki na akaanza kufyatuana risasi na polisi. Basi hapo polisi wakakabiliana nao, na hawa 2 ambao walikuwa kwa pikipiki wakaweza kuangushwa na bunduki hiyo ikapatikana, na hata na risasi ambao walikuwa wamefyatua maganda imepatikana, na maiti hizo zimepelekwa kwa mochari kule Buye. Kwa hivyo ni kazi ambao tunataka kupongeza askari wetu kwa kazi nzuri, kwa sababu hiyo bunduki imekuwa ikihangaisha watu sana, na tuliahidi wananchi, na wakati ambao tulienda huko Kahega tukaahidi wananchi ya kwamba ni muda tu tutapatana na hawa wajambazi, na jana wajambazi wamepatikana, na ndio hiyo tumeweza kunasa hiyo bunduki ambao ilikuwa ikihangaisha watu. Kwa hivyo hiyo inalingana na ushirikiano kati ya walinda usalama na wananchi, na nataka kupongeza wananchi kwa hiyo. Kwa hivyo tuendelee kushirikiana namna hivyo, ili nayo tuhakikishe ya kwamba hapa katika eneo letu hii jimbo la Kakamega County tuwe na usalama wa kutosha, na tufanye mambo yetu ya maendeleo bila uoga yoyote.
In Isiolo County are now calling on the government to cushion Kenyans from the ballooning high cost of living as Kenyans continue to suffer, calling on the government not to abolish funding to university students. Let's take a look.
It is during the consecration of Samuel Letapi as senior pastor in Oldonyiro, Isiolo County, that the clergymen led by Bishop Gideon Kirima decried the high cost of living that continues to burden millions of Kenyans fresh from the effects of drought witnessed in the country in the last few months.
Hali ya maisha imeinuka sana, petroli imeinuka sana, na usafiri na uchukuzi umekuwa very expensive. Na kwa sababu hiyo tungeliomba pia serikali iangalie petrol na diesel, kwa sababu hicho ndicho kimeshikilia uchumi haswa katika maeneo yale makubwa kushinda mengine yote. Umepatana na mimea imekauka, na haswa tulipoingia pande moja ya Laikipia na kuingia pande nyingine ya Isiolo, tumekuta sasa ukame umezidi. Na vile tumeangalia maisha ya watu wale tumetangamana na wao yamo chini kabisa. Hakuna maji, hakuna lishe, na wengine wao walifikiri tumeleta msaada wa chakula, na hivyo ni kumaanisha ya kwamba
Bishop Kirima urged the president to reconsider his stand on the abolishment of the university funding through the HELP loan, as the fund has helped thousands of university students from vulnerable families.
HELP imekuwa ni msaada mkubwa sana kwa vijana wetu wanapoenda university. Hapo awali tumekuwa na himizo na kuwa encouraged ya kwamba hata kama hali ya mzazi iko chini sana, kijana tu akifaulu kufanya vizuri aingie university atapata ile loan ya HELP, na inamsaidia sana, imewasaidia watu wengi sana. Kwa hivyo ningeliomba serikali isiondoe jambo hilo, manake huo ndio msaada tu na ndio loan ambayo imejulikana ndio ya kusaidia mwanafunzi. Na kuna wanafunzi wengi waelevu sana, lakini wazazi hawana uwezo wa kulipa gharama ya fee ya university.
On his part, retired Bishop William Thirari lauded the move to add chiefs in the fight against insecurity in the country, urging the government to further step up its effort in doing away with the menace.
Usalama nimesikia ya kwamba kuna maomgadi na watu wengine wameongezeka ili kulinda. Mtu akisikia risasi kiunguruma wanaweza ogopa. Pia ni mambo ya wizi wa mifugo. Hiyo serikali nimesikia imechukua hatua, lakini wachukue zaidi, kwa maana mtu akinyang'anywa mali yake yote na mwingine anabaki maskini. So hali ya mifugo kama ile tunaishi na baada ya Isiolo, Meru, wapi, hayo yachukuliwe yakiwaka maanani ili watu wajanyang'anyane vitu vyao.
Ordained Pastor Samuel Letapi urged local residents to actively engage in preaching peace, especially in Oldonyiro area, which has encountered massive insecurity owing to cattle rustling incidents that have caused tribal animosity in the region.
Paswa kuhubiri amani, na jana niliahidi bishop wangu, hata ninaahidi leo ya kwamba hizo maeneo ambazo hata yakifita tutaingia kuhubiri injili.
Ian Kitani, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto has committed to fighting hunger in Kenya through the construction of 4 dams in every county. Speaking in a Thanksgiving service in Laikipia County, the head of state stated that apart from the 4 major dams, the government will also build 1,000 more to support agriculture production. Sharaka Reria with that story.
President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, in company of other Kenya Kwanza leaders, attended a Thanksgiving church service at Interdenominational Church in Laikipia County. The president outlined his plan to tackle the prolonged drought challenges through the constructions of 4 major dams in each county.
Tumekubaliana pia mambo ya maji, kwa sababu maji ni ya muhimu. Na katika mpango wetu wa serikali ya Kenya tumekubaliana mambo ya maji ni mambo ya muhimu. Mumesikia vile tumetangaza jana, tumezungumzia kwa kirefu, tumeongea hata pamoja na magovernors wetu, tumeongea pamoja na viongozi wale waliotutembelea kutoka bunge na senate vile tutakuwa na hiyo mpango ya maji. Tuko na dam ya Rumuruti, tuko na damu ya Pesi ya upande ile ingine itaunganisha kule Nyandarua na hapa Laikipia. Tuko na damu ya hapa Nanyuki, Kahurura ilikuwa inaitwa Umiririe siku ingine. Hiyo tutapanga pamoja.
The president stated that apart from the major dams, his administration will also construct 1,000 more smaller dams to boost the agricultural production.
Na tuko na zile dams ndogo ndogo ambazo vile vile tumekubaliana na viongozi wenu kwa sababu tunataka kuhakikisha ya kwamba mko na maji ya matumizi nyumbani, maji ya mifugo yenu, na vile vile maji ya kupanga mambo ya irrigation, ndio tuweze kuzalisha chakula, tuondoe njaa katika.
It is during the service where the DP Rigathi Gachagua declared to spearhead a welcoming party for the president in Mount Kenya region.
Na kuomba vile umeanza, panga kazi yako, kwa sababu wewe ndio uko na contract na watu ya Kenya. Na ni mimi na wewe peke yake tutakuwa pale kwa debe tukijibu watu ya Kenya. Hao mawaziri yote na watu wengine umeteua hawatakuwa pale. sisi tutakuwa pale tukijibu wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo rais, vile umeanza, upange hii kazi, upange wewe mwenyewe, uifuatilie vile unafuatilia wewe mwenyewe, ndio wafanyikazi wale umepea kazi wasikuangushe.
Before even in parliament, when we could address parliament, some people would say this nation in terms of tribal cocoons. But these elections delivered a new Kenya. A Kenya that a truly solid unitary nation.
That Meru County will now be an example to the rest of us. We are looking forward as a Council of Governors. Nikushukuru sana, Your Excellency, kwa sababu ingekuwa sio wewe, mimi najua dada yangu angezama. Lakini nikushukuru sana kwa sababu tulikulilia na tukasema sisi tutashirikiana kama magavana wote. Kila mtu najua alikuwa anakutumia message, sio tu magavana kina mama.
Shadrack Kareria, Lookuptv.
Happy New Year!
Azimio la Umoja Wana Kenya Alliance leader Raila Amolo Odinga says former President Uhuru Kenyatta is in the coalition party to stay, and that constituent parties will be strengthened and positioned to win the next elections. Raila termed as propaganda claims that there was a power struggle in Azimio that could lead to its collapse. Raila, who was accompanied by Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Nasir, was speaking to journalists outside Mombasa's SK Memorial Cathedral after attending a Sunday service.
We work together very closely with Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, Honorable Martha Karua, all the times working together. There's nothing like a power struggle within Azimio. Everything will be done very smoothly. We are going to strengthen Azimio as we also strengthen the constituent parties of the coalition to make it strong. We are together. I don't know where you're getting that information from. I was with him just yesterday. Even I talked to him this morning. He has not given me any impression that he's going to resign from Azimio. That is sheer media propaganda. Uhuru is very much a member and part and parcel of Azimio leadership.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was on a Sunday morning joined by Kiambu and Nyandarua senators on his three-day Mount Kenya trek. For the third time, the DP was joined by Karungo Thangwa of Kiambu and Medhu Muhia of Nyandarua to trek up the mountain. Rigathi said the three had a discussion about their expectations of Kenyans on a Kenya Kwanza administration.
I've taken the opportunity this morning to cry before God for the people of Meru, where there are challenges of leadership threatening development. Meru County is very dear to President William Ruto and I. They voted for us to a man. The crisis of leadership that is in Meru portends danger for the development of the people of Meru. President William Ruto has assigned me to create peace among the leaders, a journey that I've already started. I've come here to cry before God to give me wisdom to be able to fulfill the assignment that the President has given me to bring peace among the people of Meru. The people of Meru are great people. They are hardworking. They are very dignified people, and they deserve development, which cannot take place when there is disunity and when there is fighting. I have prayed to God to touch the hearts of our leaders, to be humble in Meru, and to put aside differences, personal or otherwise, for the benefit of the people of Meru. And I'm sure God has heard my prayer, and he'll touch the hearts of our leaders, from the governor, the senator, the members of parliament, the members of the county assembly, so that they can agree that we put our differences aside for the greater good of the Meru people, so that they can enjoy development under the government of President William Ruto, whom they love and whom they voted to a man. And it will be very sad that the people of Meru, who voted for President William Ruto and I to a man, failed to get development during his tenure. We must mentor our young people. We must prepare the next generation. We as a region have had a lot of problems because nobody prepared leaders for tomorrow. We have only come to leadership because of the old adage that nature abhors vacuum. We were not mentored by anybody from this region. In fact, it is President William Ruto who took it upon himself to mentor most of us. And we are really and very truly grateful to him. He gave us an opportunity, mentored us into national leadership.
Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savula, alongside Western leaders, have lauded the move by ODM leader Raila Odinga to ask ODM governors to work with the national government, swinging at the barrier of Moses Simiyu Waiswa in Mukungu village in Navajo area. The trio said Raila's action is beneficial for the economy and unity of this nation. The leaders also expressed confidence that Mumia's sugar will be revived.
Sisi tunajua president ni mmoja. Supreme Court ilisema ni Ruto. Amekuwa Kakamega hapa. Akatuambia hii Mumia Sugar Company ataitengeneza, aiunde iwe sawa sawa ili ifaidi watu wetu. Tayari mheshimiwa wangu akishirikiana na Mumia Sugar wamefungua weighbridge. Sisi county government tunataka researchers watufanyie research. Tunataka ile miwa sio ya ku harvested baada ya miezi 19 hapana. 18. Tunataka miwa kama ya Brazil ile una harvest baada ya miezi 12 ama miezi 9 ili hawa wakulima hao wangepata pesa haraka.
Wakati ni sasa wa kulima miwa. Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ako makini kuhakikisha kwamba Mumia Sugar inashikilia inakwenda. Na suluhu kubwa ya West Kenya kutonyanyasa wakulima, Butali kutonyanyasa sisi, ni Mumias kufanya kazi. Na vile Mumias imeleta weighbridge hapo Buheri, tumesukumana nayo, imekubali inasukuma miwa hapo. Naomba watu wangu sasa tupande miwa kwa wingi, so that vijana vile mnafanya kazi huko, nasema ni vizuri na wanalipa vizuri, na tunahakikisha kwamba malipo ifike kwa mkulima ambaye anatupatia miwa.
Uasin Gishu Governor Jonathan Abiy now wants police bosses in Uasin Gishu to be probed over rampant theft and murder across the county. According to the governor, police are colluding with the thugs who have been terrorizing residents.
City hatutataka kupatia hofu investors na wafanyabiashara na wasomi na wale wote wangependa kuwekeza hapa Eldoret. Kwa hivyo nataka nimwambie county commissioner na county commander ambaye amekuja kwamba tuketi chini. Kuna mahali wanalaumu hata polisi kwamba kuna polisi ambao wanatumika sana kwa mambo ya violence and robbery. Kutaka kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao wanahusika ama wana njama moja na wale wakora, tunataka tuambie hatutakubali. Kwa hivyo county commander, tunaukaribisha Uasin Gishu, lakini uchunguze sana. Juzi mwingine amefahamiwa hapa kwa M-Pesa, na ukitaka kufuatilia ni kama kuna watu ya polisi wako ndani. Wanafanya nini pale? Mbona nyinyi mna aid wakora? Ati sasa kila mtu anaishi na hofu Uasin Gishu. Mjue kwamba Uasin Gishu ni home ya president ya 5 hapa Kenya. Tunataka amani.
Let's look at sport now, where the KFF Football Association Kakamega branch organized a 10-day training workshop for coaches in the region in a bid to nurture grassroots football talent, with the stakeholders urging the 2 levels of government to boost its efforts in nurturing talent from that particular level.
With this training, the coaches who have been trained will be able to help us in coaching the athletes that will be here. And some of the, some of our programs that we also do is giving out coaches to train, giving out sports equipment.
Kwamba hawa coaches ambao wamepitia mafunzo na wamefuzu leo, tunahakika kwamba hatutawaacha hivyo, kwa sababu ukiangalia hii mambo ya governance cup itaenda kuanzia mashinani, ward level, na natarajia kwamba hao watu kuna mahali ambapo wanatoka katika wards. Kwa hivyo watakuwa na teams ambazo zitacheza ward level na zicheza hadi kwenda sub county mpaka kufikia kwa county level. Kwa hivyo sisi mahali tupo tunahakikisha kwamba vijana hawa talanta zao hazipotelei tu mashinani, bali zinachipuka.
We have also requested her to give us CAFC so that we can have enough coaches who can be able to search talents in our county, knowing that Kakamega is a hub of talent. Na mpira bila kuchezwa Kakamega hakuna mpira Kenya. That is why we are saying, Madam supporters, even if they complain, be with us. We are going to support you, and we want capacity building in terms of our talents. And I'm also requesting other federations, because we have also other games that are played in Kakamega, like we have Malava girls, Malava boys, champions of volleyball. Let them partner with the Kenya Academy so that they can also be given such courses.
All right, that particular story then marks the end of our news bulletin right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, Brian Amwai will be joining you with conversations on current affairs. What is it you think about the different CS reassignments? What do you expect for 2023? And exactly how the government is planning to run its business then in 2023. But for me, I'll be coming later on with a conversation on a focus on the agriculture sector in different counties in the country. Take a short break. Remember, you can join us online at Lookuptv across all our social media platforms. I am Kiage Simba.
Sienda nayo huko ndani, unaacha hapo kwa luggage ndio uingie.
Ni wacho kwa luggage namna gani nataka kutumia huko ndani? Nimekuja na hii gani ndio inatumika? Hii paketi ama hii kuchota? Kwani serious hii? Bwana wacheni mchezo bwana. Nini?
Karibu customer. Hizi bidhaa unaziacha pale kwenye luggage ndipo sasa ufanye shopping kwa supermarket yetu. Kuchota ni kufanya shopping pekee.
Ni kufanya shopping.
Raundi hii chota mapema na Hetia Supermarket ndio best. Kwa mara nyingine tena, Hetia Supermarket inakuletea chota na Hetia Supermarket. Kushiriki shindano la chota ni rahisi. Ingia tu Hetia Supermarket iliyo karibu nawe: Kitale, Bungoma, Eldoret, Kakamega, Kisumu, Busia, Naivasha, Limuru, Nairobi, Thika, Nyeri, Meru, Chuka na Maua. Nunua bidhaa ya shilingi 600 na zaidi na utapewa raffle ticket. Jaza vizuri na utumbukize kwa sanduku iliyo mlangoni. Utakuwa umeingia kwa draw ya kujishindia zawadi kama gari 7 aina Daihatsu Mira, pikipiki 21 aina ya TVS, 1130 school fees, TVS, microwaves, shopping vouchers na vingine vingi.
Bas, ni huku. Saidia mimi.
Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Louis Bacon, Savannah Juice Fruit Vial, My Choice Hand Wash, Zesta Choco Primo, Ketepa, Blue Band, Aramco, Oven Fresh Bread, Nivea, Silent Night Mattresses, Coca-Cola pamoja na Hisense. Shindano hili limeidhinishwa na BCLB permit number 002816. Sheria na masharti kutumika.
Chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket, na hii mtoka kari smart kabisa inaweza kuwa yako. Unangoja nini? Ingia, fanya shopping yako Hetia Supermarket, uchoto kuchote na hii kari. Hii motoka inaweza kuwa yako. Mtu anaweza pesha kwa buti.
Hetia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Mwangi's Institute of Cosmetology. We are TVET and NITA approved training institute in the following courses: School of Hairdressing and Beauty Therapy, School of Fashion Design, Event Management and Decoration, School of Interior Design and Beadwork, School of Advanced Nail Technology, and School of Makeup Artistry. We are located at Kim's Plaza, Equity Bank Building, 4th floor, Oginga Odinga Street, Eldoret. Call us on 0715-046-499 or email us at mwangiscosmetologyinstitute@gmail.com. Mwangi's Institute of Cosmetology, empowering tomorrow's generation today.
Already seen all of it from here, thanks to my wonderful long neck.
A very small percentage of people can protect what the future holds. Mahiga Homes has a track record that speaks for itself. With 5.95 million, you can get a 3-bedroom flat roof bungalow at Golden Park, Juja. We've handed over 9 estates and the 10th handover is coming soon. Your dream home is just a step away.
Good morning once again here on the Morning Drift. This is the first show of this year, so I know earlier on we said no Happy New Year's, but I just want to wish you Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation here on the program. It is 10 o'clock, meaning it's time for that current affair conversation, that what is happening inside the country, which direction are we taking as a people, what is the state of the nation? Those are some of the questions that we seek to answer here on the program every Monday on Matters Current Affairs on the Morning Drift. My guest is not a guest anymore, and he's a resident here and a friend of the show, Japheth Mbui, who is the president Kabila La Vijana, and he'll be telling us what Kabila La Vijana is up to this year. So if you want to be part of it, how do you go about joining Kabila La Vijana? You know, a youthful movement here in the country, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for making time.
Happy New Year, Brian.
Happy New Year to you.
The first time I'm seeing you.
We thank God that we did cross the year, well,
Yeah.
and now we can actually sit here and say it is 2023 and you are here to live again. Exactly.
Yeah, we thank God because I know that so many people had good plans, but they never saw this year.
Okay.
We are here with the beehive of activities.
Okay.
So we want God to lead the way.
Right.
There's a lot that is coming.
All right. Now we want to get into the conversation this morning. What are we talking about? Well, when we went for a break as a show and as a nation, just to celebrate the festivities, so many things were happening. We have a president that doesn't take a rest, if you know what I'm talking about. The other day, he had the State of the Nation address. He talked about quite a number of things. Just recently, he had a cabinet retreat, and we want to start with that, the cabinet retreat that was happening in Nanyuki, Why was it important? Because he wanted for the different levels of government to just align their priorities so that they can work harmoniously and make sure that they deliver to the people of Kenya. I was talking about the cabinet secretaries, whereby they had to, look at their ministries, point out exactly what is important, what the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is, how do they plan to achieve that, and just so that they can just move in harmony when it comes to that. But something interesting out of that particular meeting that happened just days ago is that members of the cabinet will actually be going to the House, that is the National Assembly, to answer questions, be grilled by the members of the National Assembly. We want to take a look at that and what that means for the country and also for this particular government. But before we do that, let's just take a look at and hear this, what the Kimani Ichung'wah, that is the majority leader of the National Assembly, actually did say in regards to that.
A question that could be asked, for instance, that question on GMO that would touch on health, that would touch on trade, that would touch on agriculture, and we expect that such cross-cutting questions will be answered by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and it is expected that, of course, you'll be accompanied by the Cabinet Secretaries in charge of the dockets that the questions relate to, or officers in their respective dockets. And therefore, the Prime Cabinet Secretary may consolidate replies from various ministries on a cross-cutting question and appear before the House as a Cabinet Secretary also to answer to questions that are cross-cutting. There is no provision in the Constitution that bars a Cabinet Secretary from attending the House to answer to questions. Since these questions are intended to assist the House to resolve issues that are of concern to the people, and our key mandate is to address matters that are of concern to the people. Indeed, under Article 165(2)(d) of the Constitution, only the High Court can interpret the Constitution and declare any action unconstitutional. Therefore, you must not be worried by those who are declaring that what you intended was unconstitutional. It's only the High Court that can interpret the Constitution and tell us that the appearance or otherwise of a Cabinet Secretary before the House is unconstitutional. And in line with that, there is no single judicial determination that has been made on whether attendance by Cabinet Secretaries before the House violates any written law.
Now, my name is Brian Amwai once again. Just to stress that, Brian Amwai, you can be part of the program by engaging us on our socials. That is at Amwai Brand on Twitter, at Lookuptv. That bite by Kimani Ichung'wah actually takes us to our discussion this morning. Let me get to hear from you, Japheth. What do you make of that when CS now go to Parliament to actually be grilled in regards to their respective ministries?
I want to agree with Kimani Ichung'wah.
Yeah.
We don't have any provision in the Constitution that bars Cabinet Secretaries from sitting in Parliament and answering questions. You know, we are from a regime whereby Cabinet Secretaries were bosses. Okay. They did things as they wished, and they were doing things as they wanted. They were not questioned. We didn't have a platform whereby we could engage them, we could ask them questions. At least I support it. Let them go to Parliament. At least we know what are these people planning, what are they doing in their ministries, what is happening within the ministries. So, as what he has said, it's only the High Court that can really tell us the Constitution. But I don't think whether we have any provision in the current Constitution that bars Cabinet Secretaries from and going to Parliament.
It has been a subject of debate with the other side of the political divide. Some people actually coming out and saying this is not supposed to be the way you're actually putting it. If members of Parliament want to ask questions to the Cabinet Secretaries, then they should put it through the lead of majority. And also that is why we have House committees, you know, so that different ministries can actually go to the committees instead of having to be grilled by the entire House.
No, they should quote at least the act. They should quote somewhere in the Constitution that says these people should not go to Parliament. Okay. It's not a matter of they should not to. And I don't think whether the majority, the leader of majority, can answer all the questions for all the Cabinet Secretaries. Okay. You know, after the 2010 Constitution was inaugurated, they justified that. In fact, I think it is the first time we were having Cabinet Secretaries being selected outside Parliament. Thereafter, we used to have members of Parliament who are Cabinet Secretaries. Okay. Then thereafter, we got the technocrats. From there, we've never had a leeway or a channel that bars them or denies them a chance to appear in Parliament. Okay. let the cabinet secretaries go to parliament. Let us understand what they are doing. Let them explain to Kenyans through parliament. Because the only way we can question the cabinet secretaries is through our representatives who are the members of parliament.
All right.
The majority leader cannot answer every question for every ministry. Yeah.
Now, the Kenya Kwanza seeks to, promote the issue of this transparency to some extent, if you may. Do you believe that if at all we had the cabinet secretaries in parliament answering questions from the members of parliament, they are going to achieve this mandate or this idea that they have in their heads that we will actually be a transparent government?
I know transparency, you can't achieve 100% transparency. But it's one of the ways that at least we can get a clear information of what is happening within the government. Remember, the cabinet is part of the government, and it's through the cabinet secretary that will understand what are the government plans, what they are planning to do within each and every ministry. So when we have cabinet secretaries in parliament answering questions, at least we'll achieve a certain percentage of transparency. We'll understand each and every ministry, what they're planning, how much is put in these ministries, how they're spending the money, what they have achieved so far. So we're going to achieve a kind of a transparency to a certain level.
Okay. Yeah. I want us to take a look back at what has been happening before when it comes to matters of grading of CSs and what you think we did miss by not having these CSs be grilled by members of the National Assembly. When you look back at the previous regimes in 2013 all the way to 2022, when we did not have CSs appearing before the whole House to actually be grilled, what do you think we did miss from that?
You know, Brian, if you look at what happened in the last government, the mandate was bestowed into one person who was by then they call him the super cabinet secretary, Fred Matiang'i. And I remember the last time he appeared in the parliament, in fact, he went there to quarrel the members of parliament. You know, the authority that was given unto this man, it made, to me, I felt that he was drunk with power. So anytime he appeared there, he was not answering any question. Instead, he was questioning the members of parliament, why they're summoning him. It's high time, and I feel it's very important. There are a lot of things that we missed last time. So far, we don't know. President Kenyatta, the retired president, there's a time he promised that they're going to table the SGR contract. Contract. We never got it. There are a lot of things that were done behind the scene.
Do you believe that if at all we had, that kind of openness in regards to different ministries just being presented or going to parliament to answer questions from members of members of the National Assembly, we'll actually be having some of these contracts, things that are done behind.
Exactly. Every cabinet secretary, when appearing in parliament, the pressing issues that Kenyans want to know will be asked by our representatives, and in the process we'll get to know every contract, who was awarded, how much, what was the budget, what have they achieved so far. At least that one will bring light. We'll understand what has been happening. You know, there are a lot of things that used to happen that we were not aware of. You know, even it became remember we had an opposition by the time we were going to elections last year. So the common mwananchi getting to understand what was happening within the government, it was a bit very difficult. Remember, we don't even know who was running the government. It reached a point whereby we saw people like Murathe talking on behalf of the government. People were not even held no position in government. We saw people like Francis Atwoli talking on behalf of the government. You know, the government was being run by everybody. Anyone was answering questions on behalf of cabinet secretaries. Anyone was answering questions on behalf of the president. We saw even the opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga talking on behalf of the government. So we didn't really understand who had the information about the government. We didn't know how the cabinet secretaries were performing. Anytime anyone was mentioned in a scandal, you could see either the president defending or the opposition leader defending the person. So at least for the first time, we'll get a clear information of what is happening within the cabinet, the ministries.
All right. I want to come to the issue of misuse of this particular opportunity by the members of the House, because do you believe that there could be a misuse of this in trying to showcase, or rather just show the superiority, who is superior to the other?
I think for the first time, and I want to congratulate Mr. President for this, for the first time we are seeing even the opposition members attending government meetings to deliberate on how to run the country. You saw yesterday, is it yesterday or the other day, we saw governors with the president. I think it's high time we differentiate between politics and when it comes to matters running the country. I don't see members, as far as I'm concerned and how I've mingled with some, I think there's a sense of maturity that has come to them that it's time now we run the country. Politics are gone. You had even the governor from Siaya talking of, I love to pick my call Mr. President and tell Mr. President that in Siaya this is what we want the government to do. It's high time we put politics aside and work for Mwananchi. Okay. It's not about Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, it's about the people, the Kenyan Republic. Okay. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that they want to look at is the issue to do with accountability and just holding each ministry accountable. So if something goes wrong in a particular ministry, the member of, or rather the cabinet secretary of that particular ministry is held to account and, will to answer questions. And I want us to listen to this particular bite by leader of majority in the Senate, that is Aaron Cheriot. Let's take a look.
This government, because we believe in accountability, wants its cabinet secretaries to appear before both houses of parliament, either to make statements, answer questions relating to various government policies, or even public affairs. So this write-up is to make the modalities actually, or proposals on how this is going to be done with specific reference to the Senate. But the system that is being introduced, and as Kimani Ichung'wah had mentioned earlier, is a system where you'll actually be appearing before the committee of the whole, which is a simple term to mean a gathering of all the members of the House. And there is, of course, conversation that has been mentioned out there, whether this is constitutional or otherwise. But in our thinking and presentation as a Senate, we find that this has a perfect grounding actually in law. Article 153 of the Constitution provides for the decisions and responsibilities of accountability of cabinet as follows. They are listed there, but I want specific reference to actually subsection 4, where you act in accordance with the Constitution, or part B, provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control.
Now, that is just close to what the earlier speaker, and that is the majority leader in the National Assembly, was talking about. I was hoping to get something to do with how this is going to help the government be accountable to some of the things that they've promised and things like that. But let's talk about accountability, because this is some of the things that they are very keen on, because when the president was campaigning, that's what you said. My government is going to be accountable. Every person that is handling a different ministry will go to the House to actually be questioned on what that ministry is doing in regards to what we promised and things like that. How is this going to help these people be accountable? Because in most cases, and I know one of the things that was actually mentioned, just like you did, is something to do with what happened in the previous government. You summon a cabinet secretary and they do not show up. They snap that. People are waiting there to question you and you don't. And somebody had put this earlier and said, okay, maybe what needs to be done is the president should speak to the cabinet secretaries and tell them, by the way, this is exactly when you are summoned in parliament by any committee, just go and be accountable. Just go and answer questions rather. So what do you make of that? How is this going to actually have this be accountable to some extent?
Last time we saw cabinet secretaries not turning up when they're summoned because, one, the question of accountability was not even with their leader. It was the president then. And I want to thank the president because he's the one who has ordered cabinet secretaries to appear in parliament. Meaning no cabinet secretary will miss any summon because it's their leader, the chairperson of the cabinet, who has given a go-ahead. Okay. When we talk about accountability, how do we achieve accountability? One, accountability will only achieve if you lay bare facts on how you are running your ministry. Accountability will only be achieved if you owe an explanation to someone. The fear of failure will come in if facts are on the table. No cabinet secretary will be ready to face questions on accountability because he knows anytime, he or she knows anytime he or she might be summoned by parliament. You know, we had nobody to question them by then. That's why you saw the question of all the scandals that you had in the second term of the President Uhuru Kenyatta. No cabinet secretary was even ashamed of any scandal that before their ministry because they knew, one, no one was going to question them.
All right. Let me come to the issue of this president speaking to the cabinet. And he said, you put it right and say the president told them, by the way, you need to be very accountable and things like that. And at the beginning of it all, there's some people, political pundits, put it across and said, the only way we can have members of the cabinet respecting the summons from the National Assembly or the Senate is if the president tells them this is exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Now, if at all he communicates that to them, do we really need them to appear before the whole House or just a committee?
I prefer them to appear before the whole House. You know, committees sometimes, it's a small representation of the House. I remember all the members of parliament elected and nominated represent constituencies. We sent them there to represent us. Cabinet secretaries are working for a common mwananchi. They're not working for a portion of members of parliament who are in a certain committee. So for me, I prefer when they appear before the whole parliament, at least even that member of parliament from Wajir, from Garissa, from Turkana, will have an opportunity to ask questions as per the area that they are representing.
Okay. Just to be clear, one of the leader of majority in the National Assembly said, you're not going to be asking Kidiki, why is security, why don't I have a police station in my area and things like that. So it's going to be a well-structured kind of process, and they'll not be ambushed and things like that. Maybe they are afraid of that, and they're actually being put on the pedestal. No, not even a pedestal. Their head being put on a platter, and just demanding for that.
It will be it will have a structure. I'm sure they will want to be ambushed and be called and be questioned for questions which are...
Yeah, I think the questions that we normally used to have in debate when we were actually in primary and high school, why don't we have a forest here? You're the Minister of Forestry and things like that. But that aside, so each cabinet secretary is going to have about 3 hours to, just answer questions and, be in regards to the ministry that they actually lead. Away from that, let's take a look, because we're running out of time. Let's take a look at another subject of debate that has been happening. And this has to do with the youth. And you are president of Kabila La Vijana right now, and I believe you interact with these people, and also just people from campus in regards to leadership. I believe you also you do interact with them. It has to do with health. The president said we are going to do away with that, and you have a university fund that maybe try to increase the money and things like that. But a lot of people are against that. What's your take of that first?
The president is right. Sometimes I think this country we overrode on institutions that were created, and I think the generation that we are having now and the crop of leaders that we are having now, maybe they don't understand why HELB came into existence. Such institutions were created to benefit the poor. But as things stand now, Mr. Amwai, is majority of the people who are benefiting from the HELB loan are the rich. Majority of the people, a good number of them. We've got people who are capable of paying for their university school fees, but you find that the ones who are benefiting from the HELB loan, the process of applying, also, there are a lot of things that we need to look when it comes to HELB loan. We need to know, I think the process has to be put in a manner that will reach those people that are meant to benefit from it. And if you are able to pay for your child, do that. Why should we pay money for people who are able to?
to pay. But this is the thing. At what point do we draw the line and say this one is actually capable? Because you can actually take your child from primary all the way to high school, but when it comes to campus, it becomes a little.
I think that is the conversation now we need to start having. How are we going to draw the line? We need to come up with that structure, and we need to know. I think we can. The same structure. I saw one of the leaders. There's a time I visited one of the area MCS in Dagoretti North, and I saw the structure that he was putting in place. So now he is going to issue the bursaries. And when he asked for my views, I told him because bursaries is little money that is meant to support those who are in abject poverty, and we came up with a structure on how we are going to reach those who are poor. I'm 100% sure that we can have a very good formula that we can only use to reach those people who are meant to benefit from the help loan. Majority of in fact, I was shocked that even one of the cabinet secretary, the sitting cabinet secretaries, they have got their children who are being paid by, their fees being paid by help loan.
But this is the thing. You see, when somebody takes a help loan, they're going to pay that money later.
Yeah, they're going to pay, but this money was meant. We've got those people, we've got poor children who are at home because one, they cannot even access the help loan.
Okay.
So whether you're in a position to pay late or not, but let this money help the person who is in need now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I believe, should we not have put a proper structure in regards to making sure that this help actually gets to benefit everyone, in not just secluding and saying it's meant for the poor, and if at all this one were able to be taken through campus, you should actually find a way of paying for them to go through university and things like that?
When I listen
because if you're talking about a loan, it is a loan. You're not being given for free. So if I told you finish your education and you get employed and you start paying, you are paying.
You need also to look at the population of those who are joining university versus the resources, versus the available, the resources that are available. We are having less money, so many people to pay for.
Okay.
And yet out of the 100% of the people who are benefiting from this help loan, around 60% are in a position to pay. Why can't we use the little resources to benefit the 40%?
Okay. All right. We are winding up on this conversation because I need to let you go. You have a meeting. Listen, Kabila la Vijana, I need to sneak that in here as we continue, just because you have quite a number of things that, for the youth this year, and you say you have so many plans. So what is it that we are looking forward to this 2023?
Yeah, there's a big of activities. One, I'm heading to a meeting. We are thinking of changing our constitution. We want to bring in patrons. And also, for the first time, we are going to have elections, the Kabila Vijana elections. Yeah, from next month, we are going to have activities for every county. In fact, we're going to move to around 30 counties. Okay. And we are organizing for an election. It's the first one that we're having as Kabila Vijana. Thereafter, we've been appointing leaders from every region. Okay. Yeah. What I want to urge all youths, wherever they are, be ready, get into Kabila Vijana, be a registered member. The journey has begun. We are not going to turn back. 2027, as I told them in the meeting that we had in Kirinyaga, I said we are going to have so many youths in the ballot, supporting different presidential candidates. The only thing that you are not going to do is to have a presidential candidate.
So, as Kabila la Vijana, you will not have a presidential candidate,
but will allow youths to vie with our political party that we are in the process of forming, supporting different presidential candidates, depending on the area where you are coming from. Who are they supporting?
So, Kabila la Vijana will not be, to some extent, affiliated to either UDA or DM Jubilee or whichever.
We've never affiliated to anybody. We have independent stance. Okay. The other time I told you in the previous elections I was supporting the Kenya Kwanza. My vice president was supporting Azimio. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are not going to get affiliated to any coalition. What we want is to get as many youths as possible to represent us in county assemblies, the Senate, the National Assembly.
So it is about the youth?
Yeah.
More or like a youth movement?
It's more of a youth movement. Okay. What we want to form a replica of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters of Julius Malema. We are in communication with the EFF of South Africa and Zimbabwe, whereby we want to form a partnership, then we support youths.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I will be quitting media to join politics. Listen. That is still in there. I stand a chance, don't I?
You stand a chance.
Thank you. So in 2027, members of the assembly somewhere there in Western Kenya or here in Nairobi, I don't know. Kabila la Vijana is my party. That aside, thank you so much, Japhet Ombui, for making time for this conversation here and just looking at what has been happening during the week. And, you know, when we were actually off, I do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Let's do this again next time, all right? That does it for us here on the program. This has been the Morning Drift, the show we are looking at the government's Agenda 2023, some of the things that the President William Ruto has been talking about in the past few days. And we just discussed that, not in length, but just touching on them with my guest in studio, Japhet Ombui. That does it for me here on the program. Let's do this again next time. Do have yourselves a wonderful day and a wonderful week.
A very small percentage of people can protect what the future holds. Mahige Homes has a track record that speaks for itself. With 5.95 million, you can get a 3-bedroom flat roof bungalow at Golden Park, Juja. We've handed over 9 estates and the 10th handover is coming soon. Your dream home is just a step away. A very small percentage of people can protect what the future holds. Mahige Homes has a track record that speaks for itself. With 5.95 million, you can get a 3-bedroom flat roof bungalow at Golden Park, Juja. We've handed over 9 estates and the 10th handover is coming soon. Your dream home is just a step away.
All right, now thank you so much for staying with us here on the program. You're just in time for this conversation here, and I'm so excited because I can't wait for you to hear and you know, engage us on our socials at Amwai Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv, and also just to get to learn a thing or two about what you're doing today. Now, my guest today, she's 15 years of age. She has a foundation called She's a Rose. She's going to tell us more about that. Thank you so much, Tracy, for coming. How are you?
I'm good.
You're 15?
Yeah.
And you're here? I'm hosting you. You have a foundation. It's like you've made it in life. Have you? Okay, let me get this. Somebody is watching you and they haven't gone to school with you. They have no idea who you are. Who are you first?
I'm Tracy Rose Ogal. I learn in St. Bridget's Girls High School in Kiminini. I'm 15 years old, but I'll be turning 16 next